Well, welcome everybody. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Probably you didn't have much of a choice. Still, I do appreciate you coming. It's our opportunity to go over a new initiative that has been started by the MCOM commander, Lieutenant General Dahl, and as it's named, the Service Culture Initiative. And our goal today is to make everybody aware of what that means, go over some of the tenets, and just talk about it in general. And it's an opportunity for me to engage with you all, the great workforce that the garrison has here, our professionals, our civilian workforce, our military workforce, etc. So this is a great opportunity for me. I really do cherish these opportunities to talk to you. I hope you like coming to these. I hope it's an opportunity to share information, to cross-level information, to, as they say, flatten the organization, where it isn't something I say and then it goes through the sergeant major and it goes through the departments, the directors, to the department heads, and then eventually filters all the way down. And you know that game where you play, the telephone game, where somebody says, the sky is blue, and then by the end of the chain, somebody says, the guy likes hot dogs, and which I do. But this is an opportunity for you to hear something right from my mouth, and fortunately, General Dahl has a couple videos here, so we can all hear it right from his mouth. And then you don't even get my interpretation, you get his direct interpretation. So what are we doing here today? Well, again, we plan to give this overview of Service Culture Initiative. We plan to show a timeline for the implementation of this initiative. There are tasks that we will all have to do. There is training that we will all have to receive. It's going to be tailored. The initial concept had everybody in the garrison receiving the same training. I'm changing that a little bit and going to tailor it to each individual section and department. So there's going to be basically at least 2 different kinds of training. Some organizations that have a front door where customers come in and, if you will, take a number and have a seat and have a waiting room. There's customer service kind of in that vein. And then there's customer service for the individuals that are out servicing work orders and may have to talk to the customer to see what the issue is, but it's a different venue. And that training shouldn't be the same as the customer service where there's a waiting room and customers are waiting and you're providing, if you will, a service right there versus, for example, our DPW workforce that's going and working on work tickets and driving around and taking care of things. That's a different type of initiative. So I want to make sure that we don't try to take a cookie-cutter approach to this for every employee. Then we have a Service Culture Initiative Leadership Pledge, which is over here on these little easels. And there's an opportunity for myself and the directors to sign this pledge. And we had locations on there for the 2 labor unions to sign, so that we come together and we'll read that and show that. And it's a little bit of a pledge between the leadership and the workers here on what we'll be providing. So those are a couple of things we're going to do today. Then, of course, open it up for questions after the training here, and try to answer any of the questions that come out of this. So why are we sitting in here? And what does this mean? And I think when I first heard of it, or potentially now, you're sitting in your seat thinking, oh boy, here's another opportunity to say the customer is always right, and we got to do whatever the customer says. And this is about the customer. That's false. That is not what we're going to discuss here today. And that part, I'm pretty happy with, that this actually isn't about the customer. This is really about you, the workforce. And you'll see how this goes and how we get after this. But the goal here is to take care of you all, the workforce. Then the snowball effect of that is that if you're taken care of and you're valued, respected, rewarded, and you come to work every day with a positive attitude, you feel good about what you're doing, you have a good purpose, you understand what you're doing every day, why you're getting after these different tasks, if you're tied to the vision that we have here, which I hope everybody is starting to understand, because I say it or try to say it every time and try to put it on everything we do, you know, to support the premier leadership institution, to take care of the community of excellence here, and to preserve the national treasure of West Point. That's the whole purpose we're here. And if you can get behind that purpose and understand that purpose, and you can tie your day-to-day activities to that purpose, and you enjoy what you do, and your leaders are taking care of you, and you have a good communication with each other, and we do that through a venue now as New Beginnings, where you should be having now your second counseling session, and it really, I shouldn't say counseling session, but your second session, your second interactive session with your supervisor on New Beginnings. You should be getting after understanding how each individual task or element that you do is tied together with one of these purposes and the linkage between those two ends of the spectrum. Having trust in your leadership, confidence, and understanding what you're being asked to do and how to do it. You're receiving the training that you need to do that job. And then if all those things are in alignment and you are a satisfied employee that feels valued, respected, and you have a strong sense of purpose here, the organization can only get better. And if the organization is running well, then guess what? Then we take care of the customers. The customers are the second order effect of you all, the employee, feeling valued, feeling respected, knowing that everything you do on a day-to-day basis makes this place better. So, you know, I asked last employee meeting we had, a venue like this, really there's two questions, right? Who is important to the workforce? And the answer needs to be everyone, right? Everybody here. Everybody that's not here, but in the garrison workforce, the 600 and whatever today has, let's say 647 GS employees, the 110 military, even the volunteers that we have come here. Who is important to this garrison workforce? Who makes those three purposes come to fruition? Who supports the military academy? Who takes care of the community of excellence? And who preserves the national treasure of West Point? That's you. I don't really do that. I walk around and pick up trash now and then, and I help people come through the gate now and then. But day to day, it's you. I only touch little pieces of it. So, who is important in the garrison? The answer is everybody, except for me. All of you are important. The second question is the harder question. Who feels important? Who internally knows they're important? And if you all can't raise your hand and say, I am, and if the first question's answer was everybody, and the second question's answer is unfortunately not everybody, this, in essence, is trying to make sure that those two answers are the same. That you, as an individual, feel important, feel valued, feel respected, feel competent? No. Comfortable? No. I don't know. Your leadership is taking care of you. You feel that they're competent, confident. You feel that they have your best, they have your best in mind. They're trying to get you to training. They're trying to take care of you. They're trying to manage your day. They're trying to create the best elements they can in the New Beginnings. They're trying to work with you. They're trying to have two-way communication. They're making sure that the work environment is free from sexual harassment, sexual assault, that everybody feels respected, that everybody has an equal opportunity, that there's no disparaging comments, that there's no glass ceilings, that there's no habitual shenanigans, any of those things, right? So to make the two questions equal themselves is really what we're talking about today. So without General Dahl coming up with this plan, I feel we were on that trajectory, or trying to get to that trajectory. We were trying to reward our employees for doing excellent work. We have many venues where people are rewarded. We have, at a minimum, at my level, civilian awards, from the military awards, from handing out coins, 59 minutes. You know, those are all awards that I give out, and I want to give to you because, you know, from what I see, everybody's doing a good job. You know, if you don't think 59 minutes is an award, I mean, that is an award. I give that to you. I want you to have that. I want you to be able to plan your day around it. I don't want to just pop it on you at the last hour of the last day of the week, and I didn't want it to be only for people that worked on Friday and people that didn't work on Thursday, right? So that's an example. So again, we were doing these things before General Dahl came up with this, I believe. So that makes me happy that we were on the way. We recognized a need, we were attacking that need. We're trying to, you know, this organization, the United States Army Garrison West Point, is a huge organization. And it's a great organization. It's very difficult for me to turn it on a dime, right? I can say some big edict and everybody says, yes, sir, and they salute and they go about their merry way. But it's very hard for me to see it happen all the way down to the brand new employee that just came on board. So this is a way to try to codify that, to level the bubbles, again, for everybody to understand what the standard is and to hold each other accountable. All right, and I have a note in here about that. I'll probably hit that again. Hold each other accountable. The new beginnings is a way to hold each other accountable. It's a way for the supervisor to hold an employee accountable, but you know what? It goes the same way in the other way. It's a way for the employee to hold the supervisor accountable. Where's my counseling? And I don't know if you use that term. That's a military term. Where's our communication? Where's our sit down to talk about the elements? Where's the sit down to talk about, you know, how am I doing? Where am I at? Am I at a 3? Am I at a 5? Am I at a 1? You know, to make the element more smart. It's a two-way communication. So I'm empowering you being everybody here, to demand that dialogue with your supervisor. And supervisors, you should be obviously demanding that of the subordinates to make sure that you're having that two-way communication. So that's how we're going to get after a lot of this, and how I believe we were getting after a lot of this. And we're going to focus on 4 areas, and they're going to be talked about here. One of them is called a sense of belonging. One of them is called leader engagement. Another one is the onboarding process. And then the 4th one is employee recognition. So I believe I've talked a lot about these already. I'm going to let General Dahl talk here in a minute. But sense of belonging, the purpose, I already talked about that. There are 3 main reasons we all come to work each day. And if you can't find your work dovetailing into one of those purposes, we have to do something about that. Either to support the United States Military Academy, to support the service, the community of excellence here, and or to preserve our national treasure here. If you can't find the sense of purpose, we're doing something wrong. Leader engagement. Leaders have to be engaging. Well, I'm trying. I'm up here right now. No body armor on. Any shots you want to take them, right? You can ask questions at the end. You can always send messages to me. I have an open door policy. Leader engagement. That doesn't just come from my level. That's every supervisor every GS, whatever, every military corporal and up, right? As a supervisor, as a non-commissioned officer, as an officer, as a leader. And how do you do that? I mean, maybe people need assistance in that, and that's fine. And we want to build leaders of character. That's what you will hear on the United States Military Academy side of the house. That is General Caslin's mission over there, to build leaders of character. Well, I want to do the same thing. I want to build, have, create, make, enforce, reinforce leaders of character. And what is that? It's all about trust. It's all about trust. You got to have character, that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and that what I am doing is in line with the Army values, and that I do that, and I portray that in my life, right? As a leader, as a person, to have character. And the second thing for a leader is competence. Have to know what you're doing. Have to lead the organization. If you're in a leadership role, then lead, right? There's three things a leader can do, right? Lead, follow, or get out of the way. So I prefer you lead. Before you become a leader, you should have been a follower, so you should know what that feels like. And if you can't do either of those, then get out of the way. And then I expect someone else to step up and take over. All right? So if you have character, what you're doing, what you do and what you say are connected, and what you do and what you say are in line with Army values, and you have competence in your job, then you should build trust. And if you build trust, then I think you're able to have good communication, and then we are on the right track. And I firmly believe that. Okay? So engaging leaders, but it's about building trust. Onboarding, we'll go into that some. How many, this is not raise your hands, but think back to when you were brought onto your job here. Did you know what you were doing? Did you just try to find some random building? Were you just walking around not knowing what to do? Were you able to, how was it? Did you feel valued? Did you feel needed? Did you feel out in left field? Did you have a sponsor? We want to make the first impression our best impression. And that's going to be upon every leaders at all levels, but even other individuals, to bring somebody on board, right? And create a good environment from the start. From whenever they get done with CPAC or HR or whatever, and they show up at the workplace, are we doing the right job bringing new people on board? And since Sergeant Major Taylor and I came on, we didn't think that that was happening so well for the military. And I tasked Sergeant Major Taylor to make that change. There's new signs up at the gates. There's arrows telling people where to go. We changed how people's orders were given to them from Human Resource Command and the military side of the house. But we know that system, and we were able to fix that system, I think. But I'm not so sure about the civilian system, so we're going to need your help in that. And the final thing is employee recognition. I think we're doing a pretty good job at that. I imagine there are different opinions. But we have to work through that. And I want to work through that. I am not in the generation where everybody gets a trophy, right? I'm not that generation. Again, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. I'm not the kind of guy that pats you on the back if you show up to work and really do your job every day. Your recognition for that is the paycheck you get and the leave you acquire and your own internal satisfaction for doing a good job. In the culture I grew up in, that was not good enough for a pat on the back. Now, I will say that from what I've observed in my year here, that most of you do deserve a pat on the back for going above and beyond what you're asked to do. And I do applaud you for that. So if you get an attaboy from me, it should mean something to you, because I'm not passing them out like candy on Halloween. You just don't show up to my door and I give you a Kit Kat. If you get an attaboy from me or a coin from me, it does mean something to me, and therefore I hope it means something to you. It's not just from me, though, from every supervisor all the way down. Employee of the month, recognition, an attaboy, a pat on the back, time off awards, coins, awards, monetary awards, right, at the end of the performance period. You know, these are all tools, right? And each of you has a different motivation for coming to work, and the leader needs to understand what that motivation is. And that's all part of this. You don't know that if you don't communicate. I don't know what drives you to come to work. Some people are, I'm certain, in the audience, happy to come, do a good job, work hard, and leave at the end of the day knowing that they left the place a little better than they found it. Honestly, I hope that that's me. I hope that that's the way that I am. That I am good just knowing internally that I did a little bit better today than I did yesterday, or I left the place a little better than I found it. I really hope that's how I am. There are other people that are motivated by monetary awards. There are other people that are motivated by a different award, a time off award. And if that is, that's fine. But the leader needs to understand that, and we need to recognize people for doing great work, which all of you are doing. And that's what this gets after. With less resources, we're asking you all to do more. And I'll talk about that after we hear what General Dahl has to say. So without further ado, Tom, can you play video number 1, please?
Lieutenant General Dahl, welcome to my office here in San Antonio. Really looking forward to taking a few minutes to talk to you about a few things that I think are really important. We're going to talk and discuss the Service Culture Initiative, and I want to thank you for your participation in the development of this. We've given you an opportunity to provide your input, and there's no doubt in my mind that you have helped us to improve this product. And now we're ready to launch. It's important for me to share with you, from my perspective, that IMCOM really has a unique personality. It really has a unique character. It really provides a vital function and a vital purpose, for the United States Army. There is no other organization in the Army that touches every soldier and every family every day. And that really is what IMCOM does. We have a terrific opportunity to support the Army every day and to really influence and be an integral part of the Army culture. So the Service Culture Initiative is going to help us to really define who we are as an organization. Traditionally, and in the past, in our non-appropriated side of IMCOM, in our FMWR activities and in the G9 here in the headquarters, we've done a marvelous job and really have become experts at customer service. But when you think about it, everything we do in IMCOM is customer service. Those of you who are working in human resources, those of you who are working in DPTMS, range support, emergency services, first responders, the folks down in the DPW who are working on work orders, we're all customer service. So one of my first points that I need to make to you is this is not a one-time effort. This is not one-off. This is not a flash in the pan. We're going to start a campaign here, and I need your help with it, and we're going to sustain it long term. So this is not going to go away. This is going to be a part of who IMCOM is and how we operate going forward. And we're not going to do it separately. We're going to do it together. It's one team. We're all going to be in this together. And that really is one of the major points for the Service Culture Initiative. It will help us to identify who we are as a command in the field, what we're all about, and it's going to be customer service focused. The Service Culture Initiative has several vital components to it. The first is onboarding, recognition, training, but most importantly, leader engagement. It is pulling all these components together that's going to provide us that sense of belonging to this organization, to IMCOM, that's going to motivate us and bring us to a point of pride where we will deliver world-class customer service. So think about it. If you want someone to be very strong in their customer service, if you want them to have a smile, if you want them to go that extra step, if you want them to really take care of the people who are coming to them for service, then they need to be in a positive mood themselves. So that's what this is about. A lot of this is about taking care of ourselves. And if we take better care of ourselves, then we're all going to take better care of our customers. So how does it all begin? Well, let's start with onboarding. As we hire our new employees, as we hire our new IMCOM professionals, and they come on, it makes a lot of sense for us to help them to become value added earlier rather than later. So let's welcome them. Let's welcome them warmly. Let's take care of them. Let's get them up and running earlier so that they can become productive professionals in our organization. So as I mentioned, there isn't another organization in the Army who touches the Army every day. What you do is so vital in support of our soldiers and our families and our senior commanders and the missions that they perform. And when you do it well, we ought to recognize that. We ought to show that we value that and we respect your contribution. Everybody likes to be recognized when they've done good work. So let's make sure that everybody is recognized when they've done something well. I would also add that when someone is falling short, we ought to hold them accountable. Because the people who are doing good work, they also want to see people held accountable who maybe aren't working as hard as they are. And then the most important point is to help them to improve. So how will we do that? Operation Excellence, or OPEX, is something that we are committed to providing to each and every one of you. This is the training and our investment in you so that when you have that proper disposition, you're ready and you have some skills to deliver in providing that excellent customer service. So what is the role of the leadership? We've given you a couple of tools to help with this. One of them is the Leadership Pledge. The Leadership Pledge is something that we will provide to you, and you'll have it posted and visible really behind the scenes. It's not where our customers are going to be, it's where our IMCOM professionals are going to be. And it's something that people can look at and they can understand, this is what my leadership's going to do for me. It's a commitment from the leadership throughout IMCOM to our own people to take very good care of them. The second tool we're providing to you is the pledge to our customers. Now, this is something that will be visible to our customers when you're interacting with them. They'll come in and they'll see, this is what I can expect IMCOM to do for me. And what is it that the customer should expect of us? They should expect that we will go the extra mile, that we'll answer their questions, that will be in a good disposition. It's professional customer service. Now, what you'll see when you review these pledges is a lot of this stuff is just leadership 101. And as well as we know it, we're not always putting it into practice. And that's what this is all about. It's a reminder. It's a recommitment to it. It is a pledge as a symbolic gesture to ensure that we're all going to commit to this. We're going to have signing ceremonies because it takes all of us to deliver that pledge to those customers when they come to see us. So at the end of the day, the Service Culture Initiative is about taking care of ourselves first, putting us in that proper disposition so that we are now motivated to deliver world-class customer service. So what is IMCOM? IMCOM's 50,000 civilian employees, appropriated and non-appropriated. IMCOM is 75 installations. IMCOM is a $9 billion annual budget. But what is IMCOM really? IMCOM is you. IMCOM is you providing that customer service every day. And I want to thank you for how committed you are to that, how passionate you are about it, and how professionally you do it. With the help from the headquarters, with the help from the directorate, and with the help from your garrison leadership, there's no doubt in my mind that we will be successful in delivering great customer service to those soldiers and families that we are here and pledged our support to. Thank you very much for doing that. I'm looking forward to continuing to working with you on that, to hearing what you have to say. I don't need to be an expert at this business. You are the experts. I only need to discover how I can help you, and that's my commitment to you. So thank you. We are the Army's home, serving the rugged professional.
All right. So that was General Dahl's take on that. And we have another video talking about, well, what is the rugged professional? So Tom, do you want to play that one, please?
You're all familiar with our tagline, "We are the Army's home," and I love it. And we, the MCOM professionals, are where all of our soldiers and families live, train, go to school, go to church, eat, enjoy recreation with one another. We are the Army's home, and we do touch the whole Army every single day. By now, you'll also know that I have added to that tagline, "Serving the Rugged Professional," and I would like to explain to you why I have added that. It's a reminder that we don't run our installations for MCOM's sake. We run our installations in support of those mission commanders. And what is the most essential thing that those mission commanders have to do? They've got to be able to deploy ready combat power, to go into contingency environments, to fight on behalf of the United States, to secure our national security objectives, to go into combat to win and to come back safe, and to rejoin their families and reintegrate. In order for people to survive and succeed in that environment, those are austere environments. Those are Spartan environments. They need to be able to thrive under those conditions. So we need them to see themselves as rugged. We need to see them as rugged. If we're too compassionate, if we treat them too softly, then we soften them. We don't want soft soldiers. So serving the rugged professional is simply a reminder of our expectations of our soldiers, and they will respond in kind. Similarly, it applies to our families. Our families need to be self-reliant. They need to be independent. We can help them to achieve self-reliance and independence so that they can care for themselves, so that soldier can be focused while they're forward. Their soldier is going to be away for long periods of time. 9 months in Korea, 9 months in Europe, perhaps a deployment to Iraq or Afghanistan, or to Jordan, time at the National Training Center, or JRTC. Serving the rugged professional applies to our soldiers. It's a reminder that their families need to be self-reliant and independent, and it's a reminder of what we do. We are the Army's home, but we do that because we're serving the rugged professional.
Okay, so I want to expound upon that a little bit, as you just heard, right? So General Dahl, you know, he kind of says in there nicely that we're not going to be providing some of the services that we used to provide, that soldiers need to buck up a little bit and to not expect everything that they have been given in the past. You remember the Army Covenant, perhaps, Army Family Covenant. That is gone. The Army oversold and overpromised to families, and now in the war years, when money was flowing and we had that capacity, we could do that. Now that the wars are not as robust and the money is dried up, we have to withdraw some of that to the people we support. So I just want to read a couple things here that go into this, that garrisons can no longer provide programs and services to the same level as we have over the past, and that our customers have come to expect. We must prioritize and deliver the right services. And the manner in which we deliver our services becomes even more important. We are asking more of our garrison professionals, that's you. It is important that we reemphasize and return to basics, engaged in caring leadership, commitment to service, empowerment, vice entitlement, self-reliance, adherence to the Army values. And so we have to communicate that. And that's part of what this is, that our professionals, our U.S. Army garrison professionals and our customers must understand what changes we are making and why we're making them. And again, that goes to here today. So part of the premise here is that we are going to start cutting some services, and we have already. I've cut some in child youth services. We've cut Delafield Pond. That was necessary, not because of this, but because of the situation with the dam itself. But we cut the library in years past. We may not be able to do work orders on such a timely fashion. Our custodial support had to be tailored and potentially toned down in some areas. Our DA security guard workforce is at an all-time low as far as the number of personnel we have on board and trying to fill those authorizations. So what do we do? How do we take care of the workforce and yet tell the senior commander that we can't provide the level of service that we were doing before. Our firefighters are in the same boat. We're taking our firefighting workforce down, and therefore we can't have a firefighter, fire engine sitting at every corner, waiting for some kid to play with matches. We kind of gotta wait a little bit, and we gotta receive the call. So that's unfortunately takes us away from being a little bit proactive to being a little bit more reactive. So the service culture piece is, how do you then not only have the workforce embrace that concept, but then the customer receive that information? And how do we tell them? In HR, we can't just walk in and get an ID card anymore. I mean, it's potentially up to a month before, if you put in for your getting a new ID card, to get an appointment and to go get a new ID card, right? That's unheard of. That's unbelievable, right? That's blowing people's minds. But unfortunately, it's the reality we live in. It's the resources we have. And so how do you then keep the customer, if you will, happy and not have you, the employee, be disgruntled about that? You want to provide a service to these people. You really can't. And these people want this service, so they expect it or they feel entitled to have it, but you obviously can't. And I can't have you working 24 hours a day. A, you don't want to, really, right? Nobody does. And B, I can't afford to pay that amount of overtime anymore. So how do these seemingly, non-convergent ideas, how do we get after this? And again, it is really to try to take care of you guys, you all, to take care of you with the resources we have and the opportunities that we have, and to make the leadership responsive to you, that we try to do the best we can for you, and then in turn, if we do the best we can for you, that you will in turn do the best you can for the customer within the resources that we have. So some people are going to say, that sounds good, but you're just putting lipstick on a pig. I think that might be Mr. Petty's quote, actually. Are we putting lipstick on a pig, right? I hope not. And I don't think so. We have to get after the basics. We have to take care of the workforce. And again, we plan to do that by focusing on these 4 things. We need to establish an environment in which team members feel valued and respected for the job they perform, regardless of their rank or level within the organization. Have engaged, caring leaders. See where they fit in and have a sense of belonging or loyalty to the organization. Treat each other with dignity and respect. Our goal is to create a positive attitude in the workforce, or a more positive attitude in the workforce. I really don't think we had that big of a problem, but there's always ways to get better. And enjoy working in the organization. And then that positive attitude will manifest itself and be passed forward to the customer. So that is the crux of this. How do we make you all have a better experience at work, and then for you to pass that experience on to our customers, even though you're potentially telling them that we can't perform the same services we performed a year ago? It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. But that's what we're being asked to do. And again, we'll accomplish this by focusing on 4 areas: a team member sense of belonging, leader engagement, onboarding program ensuring our new professionals are appropriately welcomed, oriented, trained, and prepared to become an active member of the team. And number 4, team member recognition, ensuring our professionals feel valued, respected, and appreciated. And the onboarding piece is important, right? You might come to say, man, it's taking time out of my day to help this new employee come on, and I got enough to do, and this is really a waste, or it's hurtful, and what I'm trying to get accomplished. But the converse of that is, if you don't bring them on board correctly and get them to start working and understand what their job is, and then take the 2 or 3 things that were on your plate off your plate to this person and what they're supposed to be doing, you're kind of biting your nose to spite your face, right? That kind of scenario. You want to get this new employee on board in your section on board and trained and ready to go as soon as possible so that they can start handling some of the workload. And then they're brought on correctly, and then you're working together as a team, and you get more tasks accomplished in the same amount of time than you did before they got there. So you have to kind of weigh bringing them on board, quickly, efficiently, and correctly, versus kind of shunning them and just saying, I don't have time for you right now. Really, that's a very short-sighted approach, and you really want to take the long approach. You want to bring them on now and get them on board as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible so that the workload for the section is lightened overall. All right. All right, so everybody's involved in this. Everybody's going to be involved in this. And as General Dahl said, there's training for everybody, and it isn't just a one-trick pony. That this training is supposed to occur yearly, and this is something that our NAFI employees and MWR have been doing. It's just been tailored slightly to affect the appropriated fund employees. So you can see our directorates here, and DHR is the lead for the implementation, and DPTMS has responsibility for setting up the training program. So what are we going to do here? Well, not later than 1 October, we're going to begin implementation of the Service Culture Initiative to work on a shared value, instill this newer culture, service excellence within IMCOM, contributing to Army readiness. So for us, contributing to the mission of our senior commander, Lieutenant General Caslin. So we want to create this culture in all facets. We want to go over the 4 elements that I talked about already. And training is paramount. And the training that all of the employees will receive. Our NAF employees are receiving it in their world. The appropriate fund employees now are going to start receiving this training. And as I stated, this training I view to have really two options here. Kind of the front door customer service. They're going to receive really small unit training. And other garrison employees are going to receive more one-over-the-world training like this. So it's not just broken into small teams of like 10 or 12 people. All right, but you're going to have to receive this training every year. And we're going to have to continue to grow this. And I don't expect the training to stop. This is a two-way communication. This is leader development. There are many facets that we do on a day-to-day basis that we've rolled out recently that contribute to this. New beginnings, the vision for the garrison, how that affects or how that impacts your day-to-day operations and business. So our end state here. My end state is for you all to really feel like you are valued, respected, and that everything you do day to day contributes to the overall purpose of our organization. And the goal here is for you to really internalize that, to have good leadership, to have good two-way communication with the leader, your next leader or the leadership, and bring the organization to another level, to get everything in alignment. When that happens, and you are valued, respected, and rewarded for good efforts, you will treat the customer the way that they deserve to be treated. All right, so this bottom bullet is pretty important to me. Taking pride in the organization, leaving the place a little better than you found it. That is actually how I try to lead, that I try to find the place a little better than I found it. On some days, that might be picking up 1 cigarette butt and put it in a trash can. On other days, that might be giving out 10, 15 awards and making somebody feel good about what they've done. Some days that might be garnering a couple $1 million for a program. Some days that may be, who knows. But at least every day I know I can pick up a cigarette butt around here somewhere and make that a little better than I found it. All right. So there's 4 phases here. By 30 September, by October, and then by October 18 in phase 4. So in a year from now, we'll be doing the second iteration of this training. But up front, we have an assessment of where we are. Where we got to see ourselves first. That's always a very, Mao Zedong, know yourself, before you know your enemy, and very Clausewitzian approach here. Got to know yourself first. Then once you know yourself, you can do your self-assessments. Then you can figure out how to fix things. Okay, we do this a lot. This isn't just part of this. When we come into command, we ask for surveys, we ask for where we are, we ask for climate surveys, right? And I have a good feeling for where we are. I know there's some elements here that need more assistance in this than others, but we need to start making sure that all boats rise when the tide rises. So we want the tide to start rising, and therefore I want all the boats to rise. I want all of the departments, all the directorates, everybody to start getting after this, making sure that the employees, again, started with New Beginnings, now finishing with the Service Culture Initiative, that we tie together, and all boats should rise on a rising tide. All right, now we just continue to implement these programs. Continue to be good leaders. Continue to have two-way communication. But you will have to sit through some training. So here's a big list of training. There's going to be different surveys, and there's going to be training. There's going to be 4-hour training for some people, and there's going to be one over the world training for other people, and there's going to be online training, and there's going to be whatever ways we can get the training to each individual. That is our goal. And you can see by the end of the year, by December 31st, our initial workforce operation excellence training is complete. All right, so it's going to be a little fast and furious here from now to the end of the year. And the reality is we have done a lot of this with New Beginnings. And that was our talk to MCOM, my talk to Lieutenant General Dahl about West Point actually enacting this, is that we were doing a lot of these things with New Beginnings, and we are dovetailing in with New Beginnings on quite a bit of this, especially the point where you, everybody, should know how your individual day-to-day work ties together all the way up to the purpose of the United States Army garrison at West Point. That, I believe, is one of the most important pieces. So what we're going to do next is look at these leadership pledges that General Dahl mentioned. So Thomas, if I could have your help here to move this over. So these leadership pledges, as General Dahl showed, is an opportunity for us, the leaders, to give each of you, the employees, something to hold us accountable for. All right? And if I come down here and read this thing. So some of these big things that we talked about. So the leadership pledge, taking care of our customers begins with taking care of our most valuable asset, our garrison professionals. So I'm happy about that again. This is not the customer is always right. This is about taking care of you, and if we take care of you, if all the leaders take care of you, hopefully you come to work with a smile on your face and you want to take care of the customer, right? So the United States Army Garrison West Point leaders provide our team members the same concern, respect, caring attitude they expect them to share with our customers, the soldiers, families, civilians, and retirees. We pledge to position you for success with an impactful onboarding and orientation experience to welcome you to the garrison team. So you guys are already all here, so you don't necessarily need an onboarding. All right, but what I ask all of you to do is when we get a new employee in, and we need every employee because what was the first question I asked? Who's important here? Everybody. And I want you to feel that way. So the second question who feels valuable? Should be everybody. So you get a new employee in, I want you to ask them, how's onboarding? What can I do to help? How can we get you settled in? How can we train you? How can we this? How can we that? I want you to kill them with kindness, right? Bring them on board. That's what they need to be brought on board for. So that, in essence, they should help alleviate a little bit of your workload also. But we want to bring them on board to the garrison team. You know, I love when I hand out pins for 25 years of service, 30 years of service. Heck, we had, Miss Maureen was like 50 years of service the other day. I don't even think they make a pin any higher than that, right? So it has to start somewhere, though. The next employee you bring on could be the person that's going to be here 30 or 40 years. So bring them on right. Clear performance standards. Include standards for service excellence. Okay, that's where New Beginnings ties into this. You should know 3 or 4 elements. You should be having your second sit-down, face-to-face communication with your supervisor by now. You should have 4 this year to know what clear performance standards you have. All right? Opportunities for personal growth and professional development. If you want to move up the chain, if you want to secure another position, if you want different training, within our means, we should try to provide that to you. We are trying to provide that to you for personnel whose positions are going away and they have to be retrained. We're working on, a myriad of different tasks. Leadership training, this is training. The operational excellence training we're going to give you, that's all training. We want to give you training on how to be better. Recognition program. I think we have a recognition program, at least at my level. Every other week, 3 to 4 people get recognized by me. Sergeant Major and I walk around and recognize people. I expect every leader to do the same thing. I know DPW has, Employee of the Month. DES has a Patrol Leader of the Month, a Patrol of the Month. I expect that to be done, to recognize performance, excellent performance, above the standard, to recognize people here for that. And I believe we've handed out a lot of awards, monetary, time off. It's as little as getting a note for your birthday, right? Trying to take care of you, trying to say that you're valued and you're respected and that you're a member of the team and we need you here. All right. Engaged leaders who seek and welcome your input and take action to continuously improve the organization. Do I have to expound upon that? You, the worker that's been working here for X number of years, is the subject matter expert, right? I don't know how to come down there and tell you how to trim the tree or how to lay the blacktop or how to do some HR form or input this into some database. I don't know how to do that. I barely know how to turn on the computer, right? So you're the expert. I expect the two-way communication with your supervisor on determining your elements in New Beginning, but I expect that leaders take input from subordinates to make the organization better, continuously improve the organization. That's our goal. Leave the place a little better than you found it. It's not that hard of a concept, right? Leave the place a little better than you found it. An organization that embraces the concept of team, teamwork, and empowerment. So again, I feel fortunate that when I came here to take the position now a little over a year ago, the first thing I changed with Mr. Campbell was our vision statement. And I added the word, an empowered garrison workforce. So I just feel fortunate I put that in there, and then now General Dahl is saying that this is something that every garrison needs to have in it. So I think that's good. From the top down, I want you to know that I want you to be empowered. I want you, at your level, to be allowed to make the decisions that you can make. I try to do that with my directors. I don't want to make all the decisions, right? I want to empower them to make the decisions that they can make. I want them to empower the decisions that the next layer of supervisor can make. And I want that supervisor to make that all the way down to the people that can make the decision, who have potentially the best information so that they can execute without this huge chain of bureaucracy all the way up to me. So on a Saturday night, somebody has to ask me if they can do something. I want you to be empowered to make those decisions. Will we get, there's risk in that. Will we get it right all the time? No. I have to be prepared to underwrite that risk to allow you to execute. And I believe we are getting there. Teamwork, that's huge though, right? When we get smaller and we have to rely on a lot of other people to do other things to get something done, the only way to do that is teamwork. And the only way to build teamwork is to have communication. I think I've tried very hard to build bridges and to create opportunities for communication between our various directorates so that as we get smaller, the communication becomes better, we become more efficient, and we get work done. I hope that when I leave here, people say I did that, and I build bridges, and we fostered teamwork. Promise to hold ourselves and each other accountable. Well, I hope you hold me accountable. Hey, where the hell were you? How come you didn't come? You said you were going to do this, and you didn't do it. I got people that tell me that. Hey, you said you were going to do this, and you didn't do it. Well, you're absolutely right. I said I was going to do it, and I didn't do it. I should be held accountable. I expect you to hold yourselves accountable. I expect you to hold your subordinates accountable. I expect the subordinate to ask these questions of the supervisor. Again, how to build that trust. A leader of character and a leader of competence. Those two things should build trust, and then with trust and good communication, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. So, with that said, it's my goal here to sign this as my pledge to you all that this is something that we're going to do. And then I'm going to leave this down here for the directors to come by and sign. And then copies will be made of this. And they'll be distributed, be probably much smaller. And the copies will be put in every workplace. And they're for you to refer to. So this is an opportunity to hold each other accountable. If you can say on there, hey, you're really not doing what this says, and you signed it, how come we're not doing this? So here's an opportunity to hold us accountable. Okay. So the directors will sign that on their way out. And before I open it up for questions, I'm just going to review my notes here and see if I missed anything. And see if I missed anything that anybody sees. Okay. So where are we now? I think we're in a good place. We're in a good place. We've been working on these things. Again, this ship, isn't the, this ship is a big ship. This is the aircraft carrier, right? And we're trying to, navigate around some icebergs, and we're trying to steer it a couple degrees at a time. I'm not one to come in and take the wheel and crank it around and try to do an about face. Nothing here really is that broken. If it was, I would have fixed it. Okay? So I want to start with that. I don't really view anything here as broken. Do I think we can improve? Yes. I always think we can improve. I can improve myself, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I can always improve. Can you improve? Can you improve your organization? Can you affect the little piece of the pie that you have your fingers in? The answer's got to be yes. Is this just lipstick on a pig? No, I don't believe so. If you leave here thinking that, I ask you to really evaluate this, all right? If you think that this is just some way to try to do better with less stuff and make us feel good about ourselves, it really isn't that. I can understand why you have that thought, but I ask you to really evaluate this. I ask you to really think about this. This is an opportunity for you to have a better experience at work. If you have a better experience at work and you understand why your work matters and you have an engaged leader that you can hold accountable and the leader can hold you accountable and you can have trust between each other and you can have standards to which you should be held, both of you, there's no way that this organization can't be better and we can provide the services that we can provide to the level at which, would equate to excellence. So that was my next note. We can't provide programs and services to the same level, but we still can provide excellent service to customers. We might not be able to provide the same service, but the service we can provide, we still can provide it in an excellent manner, okay? And I want to focus on you, the employee, not the customer. The customer is my secondary concern. You are my primary concern. And I want that to be very clear. I never liked, years past, I don't know how many years, where it was all customer, customer, customer. The customer this, the customer that. And it's all about what the customer wants, and it was all about the customer. Okay, I didn't like that very much, all right? I think it is about you. And if you are a professional, you will take care of the customer. Great, I want you to take care of the customer. I want the customer to have a good experience, but not at your expense, okay? Not at your expense. And I feel that we are shifting in the right direction on that. And again, we have the 4 areas we want to concentrate on, but I really want to create trust, communication. I want leaders to lead honorably. I want everybody to be accountable. That will take corrections. That will take corrections. That will cause people to say, you are not doing something right. You need to improve. That can go both ways. You have to take it as a professional that's not a personal attack. It's not a personal attack if we are professional. You know, maybe you didn't have the training to do it. Maybe this, maybe that, I don't know. But hey, this wasn't held to the standard I expect. Retrain, teach, coach, mentor, right? Teach, coach, mentor. Then QS. Candor, communication. And then what are our outward signs that need to be addressed was my next note. You know, what do we have around here that still needs to be fixed? Are there glass ceilings that haven't been breached? Was there a good old boy network that needed to be broken up? Was there something else? So I think I heard somebody say something about that. So yes. And we're recognizing those and we're changing some of those things. All right? We are hiring a diverse workforce. We want diversity. We want the experience from all walks of life to make a better informed decisions, to have everybody feel valued, respected, and the ability to move up in positions. We just promoted, one of our females to a very high position, and I'm really happy about it. Not because she's a female, but because she's skilled and she is deserving of the position. She's one of the best workers I've seen, and she needs to continue to rise up in the organization. So that's fantastic. I'm really excited about that. And I hope the workforce understands that. We're going to value each person on their individual traits, whatever that is. And then we're going to hire people into a position that fits that skill, and we're going to pick the right person for the right job. And that's a commitment that we are getting on the right track. So what is our strength? Our strength and our strongest opportunities come when we have valued and respected professional workforce aligned with the sense of purpose, supporting the preeminent leadership institution, sustaining our community of excellence around here, or preserving the national treasure. When you all come day to day to work for one of those reasons, and you are treated and valued and respected for what you do, and you are rewarded for performance above and beyond what your PD says or what your baseline standard is, when you're rewarded for that and you feel as though you're a valued member of the team, you create teamwork, you create communication, you create two-way communication with your supervisor, there's no way that this organization cannot increase and get better. And then you're empowered to do the things that you can do. So that is what we are doing. With that, I will open it up for questions and do my best to answer them. So if you have one, raise your hand. Tom Hamilton and Sergeant Major have some microphones. And, you know, I'd ask you to also, as we wait for questions, I don't see any hands coming up. I didn't do that good a job. This is a Cookie Monster water bottle, by the way. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, tell your fellow employees to view this, right? It'll be available. Tom, you got a mic. Why don't you tell people where they can view this after the fact?
At the end of today, it will be posted up on our YouTube, and it will be available through Facebook to get to the link, and you'll be able to watch the entire thing. It should be by the end of today, so around COB.
Right, so it's going to be posted. So we have 100 and some people in here. We have a 600 and something person workforce. So I hope that everybody gets a chance to watch this. The shift workers, the DA security guards, the firefighters, you know, people that couldn't make it, people that were on sick leave or regular leave. I hope these people get to watch this. So I encourage you supervisors to show them that link and give them this opportunity, right? I don't think I have another one over the world briefing to give like this in the near term. So we're recording it so that everybody can see it. Okay, come on, there's got to be some questions. Cortez, what question you got? All right. Somebody's got one. It doesn't have to be about this. Anybody got any questions at all? How we're doing? Somebody want to give me some feedback? Tell me where we need to improve, where we're doing really good. All right, we have a taker.
How you doing, sir?
Well, thank you.
I had a question regarding employee status here at Fire, or post-wide, really. We sat here about a year ago now, and you talked about where we were in staffing in terms of garrison level, and where we are today is quite a bit below that number that we were worried about at the time, correct?
I didn't quite hear the first part, but when I came in, as far as 660 employees was what we were told to be at. We are actually way under that right now.
Very good. So with that being said, at the time you had picked certain areas, such as the fire department, to issue letters of concern out to potential employees that were at risk at the time. With that being said, we've gone through a year of reducing in numbers through attrition. I know in the fire department we're almost at our number for fiscal year 2019, and we have a lot of our employees that were issued letters that are now should be safe. My question to you is it your intent to reissue letters out to these employees saying that, hey, you are no longer at risk?
Oh, no, I hadn't thought about that, but that is something that we can do, I believe. But no one at risk for a RIF? Is that what the concern is?
That was the intent of the letters that went out, potential RIF.
Okay.
Or potentially you were excess employee is what the letter said.
Okay.
So,
let me look into that. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't want to.
I didn't mean to cut you off, sir, but based off those letters, and you talked about pride in the department and pride in the garrison. That's when someone's sitting with a letter in their hand like that. It doesn't help them come to work easy. That's for sure.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. So, I mean, what I've always said is that my intent was never to RIF, reduction in force, right? That we are well under our number of on-hand employees. So I don't think that that's a bad idea, and I'll look into that and see what I can issue out here to those people. You know, as I've always said, if you want to work on West Point, I want people to be able to work on West Point. I don't want to do a reduction in force, mandatory kicking people out. I don't think we will do that. We haven't had to do that. I won't say never, right? You never talk in absolutes, right? But if somebody right now is still thinking that their job is at risk for a RIF, I would say no, that should not be the case. We still have a few things we're working on, and power plants and utility privatization. There's a lot of things going on, but let me look at addressing those letters as you stated. So thank you for that. Anybody else? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming. I'm up here because I do believe this stuff. I do believe that you are, or you should feel like you are a valued employee. To me, you are a valued employee. Everyone. I want you to feel that way. If you don't feel that way, talk to your supervisor about it. If your supervisor isn't willing to talk to you, shame on him or her. And then keep going up the chain. I have an open door policy. You can come talk to me. All right? But I do expect that you work up the chain so that they have an opportunity to fix it. But if you're not feeling what we talked about here today, that you're a valued and meaningful employee of the installation, or you don't feel that your day-to-day duties make the place better, that your day-to-day duties don't tie into one of our 3 main purposes for existing here, we got a problem, and I want you to fix it. You have to be the one to fix it, though, to start with, and I want to make sure that you understand that. There's a responsibility for the supervisor, but there's a responsibility for the individual. It doesn't matter if it's Mr. Petty here. If Mr. Petty doesn't feel like he's getting enough information from me and he doesn't feel like I treat him as a valued employee or customer, as a senior person here in the installation, he needs to articulate that to me. I'm not very good at reading crystal balls. Okay, so if you feel like you're not a valued, respected member of the team, I ask that you make sure your supervisor understands that. All right? The communication has to be both ways. All right, with that, I will stay up here. If somebody didn't want to ask a question in front of the audience, I'll be up here in the front. And please come have dialogue with me. I hope you have a great day. Please try to leave today a little bit better. Leave the place a little better than you found it, okay? So thank you very much.